Georgia didn't meet its standard in 2024 in terms of running the football under 1,800 yards in 14 games, about 125 yards per game. Injuries, a lot of things happened that weren't up to the standard, specifically in the running game. And Kirby Smart, Georgia's head coach, talked about it in the spring, how they got to work immediately trying to improve the run game. That it was a big emphasis for them during spring practice. Offensive coaches, we got to speak to a lot of different coaches for Georgia last week, and we've spoken to Kirby a couple of times this fall camp. And look, they echoed that emphasis. They harped on the fact that, look, they want to get better on the football. Quarterback Gunnar Stockton has talked about it. So I want to bring you the latest, everything that we're hearing about Georgia's running backs, what we're hearing from the coaches, what we're hearing from insiders, what I've seen with my own eyes. Just want to give you an update. What is the deal with Georgia's running backs right now? Halfway through fall camp, right? Maybe a little less than halfway through fall camp. Georgia's season starts in about 2.5 weeks. Where are these running backs at? Where's Nate Frazier at? Roderick Robinson, Josh McCray, Cash Jones, all of those guys. What's the latest on them? Ryan Curley from Dawg Post. Make sure you're checking out dawgpost.com. Make sure you're checking out the QR code that I've got flying across the screen here every once in a while. Just check out our Dawg Post newsletter. Every day in your inbox. It's free, right? All you got to do is sign up, give us your email, and you'll get the latest from Georgia every single day and the latest from Dawg Post every single day. If you're watching on a phone or tablet, just hold down that screenshot. You'll be able to get to the QR code if you are not familiar. So what is the latest? In the spring, Kirby said we put a big emphasis on running and stopping the run because we feel like we lacked in both those areas last year. So they, in turn, adjusted their practice to focus more on the running game during the spring. So here's everything that's happened since Kirby Smart said that back in March. It was March. It wasn't even April when he said that. Georgia went through spring practice. They held their spring game at G-Day. In terms of the running back situation, Roderick Robinson was still unhealthy during spring. There was a lot of buzz about true freshman running back Bo Walker. Nate Frazier still working as the RB1. Cash Jones still had his role. Then you get to G-Day. Bo Walker kind of confirmed that buzz and played really well. Chauncey Bowens played really well, upcoming sophomore. Dwight Phillips Jr. had some opportunities in that game as well, and Roderick Robinson didn't play. They evaluated that situation, and in the spring transfer portal window, they brought in Josh McCray, transfer running back from Illinois, big-bodied senior running back who expects to play, right? You're a senior, you're transferring to our program, you expect to play. Their other power back, Roderick Robinson's not healthy. They bring in, I don't know if he's going to be insurance, if he's going to play a big role, if they're both going to play, but they brought in another power back in Josh McCray. That rhymed. They go through their summer workouts, and then it brings you to fall camp. It brings you to right now, brings us to right now. Now what's the latest with Georgia's running back situation? That's what's happened since Kirby Smart said they wanted to emphasize the run. Well, last week, Mike Bobo said the same thing. He said everything starts with the run game. You've got to be able to run the ball and stop the run. That's been an emphasis of ours since we got back from the Sugar Bowl and started meeting as a staff with our players. That's what Bobo told us in the meeting room last week. So they're still emphasizing that. They're still working on that. But what's the latest on Nate Frazier, on Josh McCray, on Roderick Robinson, Cash Jones? Well, here, I'll give you my perspective. I've been able to see just a little bit of practice. They really won't let us in. I don't know why they don't let us in. NFL reporters get to be at the practices all the time. I digress. Seen a little bit. Saw Roderick Robinson. I thought he look. They spent all summer working out. All he's been doing really the last year or so is rehabbing. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. There's no injury designation for Roderick Robinson. He should firmly be back in the mix in this running back room, and I think could be the RB2. I think that's in the realm of possibility for Roderick Robinson. At the very minimum, I think it'd be RB3 or 4. I think he's in the mix for this Georgia Bulldogs running back room. They want that guy healthy, and he looks healthy. So that's what I've seen with my own eyes at him. What I didn't see at practice, or who I didn't see at practice rather, Josh McCray. No media saw him. He wasn't there. He's been sick, right? So now there's this notion out there with Josh McCray that he's falling behind a little bit. Georgia had a scrimmage this past Saturday. Insiders tell us Nothing noteworthy in terms of Josh McCray. In fact, it looks like he's kind of fallen behind. Kirby's asked about it on Tuesday this week. This is what he had to say. He said, I don't know that he's behind. I think the biggest thing is just getting into shape, getting caught up with the speeds, the rep, the volume, to pick up the words, all those things. He continues to push to be where he needs to be. So Josh McCray in a new offense as a senior and missed a little bit of practice at the beginning of it due to an illness. Perhaps he is falling behind a little bit, but Kirby Smart kind of, I guess, squashed that. Squash, that would be a good way to put it. Well, there's still a lot of buzz about Bo Walker, right? When you fast forward to this fall camp, that hasn't changed. Will the true freshman get on the field and get touches? Nate Frazier's the presumed RB1. Kirby's talked about how he's gotten a lot better at the little things that really are big things, but the things that aren't just running the football. Getting better at pass protection, getting better at third down, getting better in passing modes, getting better understanding substitutions, rotations. Nate Frazier was not someone that enrolled early last year. He enrolled in the summer, so he's been on campus for now just over a year. He was Georgia's leading rusher last year and expected to take a step forward this season. Sounds like, according to Kirby, he is taking a step forward. So maybe Frazier is in line for a really big season. I do think that's totally possible. But Georgia's going to utilize these running backs. Cash Jones was working with him as pretty much the first team, second team guy in the drills that we saw during practice a couple of weeks ago. I think Cash Jones is going to retain his role as the primary receiving back for this offense, as a dynamic weapon and as a third down player. I don't think that changes as far as Cash Jones. I don't think that he's lost his role all of a sudden. So there are a lot of names in this running back room, right? Frazier is certainly RB1. How much of the gap between RB1 and RB2 there is, I think that's still to be seen. I think Cash Jones will play his role. Now there's an interesting dynamic between Roderick Robinson and Josh McCray because they do bring him in and he fills a similar role as Robinson, where they're these big power backs. They're probably going to be short yardage backs, guys that you go in there for goal line sets and things of that nature. That'll be interesting, especially now that Robinson seems healthy and Josh McCray, there's a notion out there that he's falling behind due to that illness. That's a dynamic that'll be interesting to watch in the early going of the season. I want people to remember what you see in September is not necessarily what you're going to see in December or November or January, right? Things change really quickly for these programs, especially for a Georgia team that's opening the season against two smaller conference, non-Power 4 programs that it should win big over and should get a lot of guys rotated in. It's going to be another month before we really know about the true depth chart of this football team when they go to Knoxville, literally a month from today on September 13th. This is August 13th. And they head to Knoxville to play the Volunteers. When you think about this running game and you think, okay, well, it sounds like they've got more to it this year, right? When you think about Chauncey Bowens looked really good during the spring. Is he the fifth or sixth running back on this team? Dwight Phillips Jr. is a gadget guy and a toolsy type of player with a lot of speed. Where is he on the depth chart? Is Bo Walker passing them? I don't know. I think that all of these guys are going to play in those first two games. They can't get it done without the offensive line. The offensive line to me doesn't seem set yet. Younger players, Juan Gadsden, Michael Uni, and excuse me, that should not be happening. Michael Uni, Juan Gadsden, Daniel Calhoun, they've all been competing for first-team reps on that offensive line this offseason. I don't think it's set in stone. There are four older guys, right? Drew Bobo, Micah Morris, Ernest Green, Monroe Freeling, guys that have played a good bit, have played well, and have struggled in other spots. They're going to be on the field a lot. This offensive line is not set in stone yet, though. I think it's still an open competition, specifically for one of those guard spots on that first team. That unit has to improve as well. If this run game is going to improve and the emphasis is going to be there. Kirby did say that he was pleased with where his running backs are at right now. And I do think that when you factor in Gunnar Stockton, you factor in his dual threat ability and his legs and what seems to be a strong command in this offense, that emphasis will probably end up benefiting this Georgia football team, this Georgia offense. they wasted no time. They lost the Sugar Bowl. They wanted to get better at running the football. They worked on that in the spring. They added another running back. Younger players are getting better, according to these coaches, and the insiders seem to like what they're seeing out of the running back. So I wanted to give you everything that we know about this room right now, as a lot of new information has come in over the last couple of months. A lot has really happened. I think that it will probably be that Knoxville game up against Tennessee where you really find out what the depth chart looks like for the Dogs. A lot of them are going to play in those first couple of games. Newsletter, website, stick with us here. All of that. Links are below as well, and I appreciate you watching.